bringing the people behind our food to life.
There are those that say that we can't feed the world without genetic manipulation of seeds and crops, and without commodification. How could we possibly feed all the hungry?
I think the first thing to recognize about hunger is that today it's a rural phenomena. It's mainly in third world countries, and it's mainly among communities that are actually agricultural communities. So why are people who are growing food going hungry themselves? They're going hungry because everything they have grown has to be sold in order to pay for the costly seeds and the costly chemicals. So a high cost chemical intensive agriculture is a recipe for hunger. Secondly, the models of agriculture that chemical farming has promoted are monocultures. Monocultures are nutritionally impoverished. The same acre of land, using biodiversity, using organic and ecological methods, could produce 5 to 10 times more nutrition than a monoculture can. So maximizing the production of commodities for international trade is directly proportionate to the decrease in nutrition availability to local communities, which is why hunger grows. If the world has to be fed, it has to be fed by growing food locally, to be used locally as the biggest proportion of the food basket. Some elements will be traded internationally, but what is traded internationally should not be staple foods. What is traded internationally should be that extra flavor of spices from India and coffee from Guatemala. That's all right. But to turn the world into a dependency on staples has nothing to do with feeding the world. It has a lot to do with controlling the food supply. The United States evolved a phrase during the Vietnam War, and the phrase was food as a weapon. The use of food as the ultimate weapon of control. And the tragedy is the growth of agribusiness in the US has gone hand in hand with the US foreign policy to deliberately create hunger locally in order to make the world dependent on food supplies through which you can then control countries and their decision-making ability. So hunger has become an instrument of war. And food responding to that artificially created hunger is an instrument of war. Peace means you grow food locally, you grow food with peace, you grow food non-violently, and the countries that are today the worst victims of hunger could be the highest producer of food. Africa has the largest land per human being, per capita. Africa is an abundant continent, and yet because of the deliberate policies, it has today been turned into a continent of hunger. India, which has the best soils, the best monsoons, the highest biodiversity, should not have any problem. We are growing enough food, and yet 70% of our children are going hungry because the economic system is robbing them of their right to food. So food production must once again be an issue of sustainability, taking care of the earth, and the human right to food must be an inalienable right. These rights cannot be ensured through a marketplace where food has become a commodity and a subject of speculation. We saw what speculation did in 2008. Food prices doubled, and the companies that control the food system doubled their profits, while riots took place in 40 countries.
You can say what's going on with a scientific background that bought and paid for scientists and their studies have a hard time standing up to.
Absolutely.
And that's frightening.
They get very angry because I'm a woman, I'm a third worlder, but I'm a physicist, and I can add numbers. So when the numbers don't add, and I say it, they get very angry because they think they can go through life fudging data.
Picking and choosing the data that supports what they want, the position
I think it's worse. It's not just picking and choosing the data. It is actually manufacturing the data. And there is, for example, the data that the Green Revolution produced more food is manufactured because they discounted elements outside wheat and rice. But India lives on more than wheat and rice. We eat pulses, we eat oilseeds, we eat millets. All of that was made to disappear. In the whole genetic engineering issue, it's a totally manufactured data that farmers are growing more or earning more. Monsanto studies always say Indian farmers have earned $27 billion more. No, $27 million more every year. Well, if they were earning that much more, why would they be committing suicide? In effect, most farmers growing BT are either in debt or just above, because the seed cost has jumped from 7 rupees a kilo to 17,000 rupees a kilo. And the pesticide use with these genetically engineered BT cotton seeds has increased 13-fold in 4 years of planting. So the package of expenditure is so huge. But this is never shown. What's manufactured is a Radhe Sham who got 2,000 kilograms of cotton. We go to a Radhe Sham and find out he got it on 5 acres, not per acre. So they manufacture the data and falsify the data. At this point, we are in a period of not just the risks of genetic contamination through genetically engineered crops, we are in a period of contamination of knowledge, where true knowledge has become a very, very rare availability in the public domain.
And without true knowledge, really true knowledge, how will we ever be able to make the right decisions about the way we want our world to go?
It's putting democracy at risk. It's putting security at risk. But if you don't know what the safety of a seed is, or if you don't know what the actual performance of a seed is, and it is all based on lies, then we will be having no food, we will be having no seed supply, and we will be told to believe in a miracle that's happening in Monsanto's labs.
But the miracle happens in the fields, and it's been happening in the fields and the prairies and the mountains for millennia.
I think that's the thing that the genetic engineering and biotechnology industry constantly forgets. That what they are trying to do is undo not just the freedoms of farmers to save seeds. They are trying to undo millennia of evolution, both in the past and into the future. They are unscrambling the tree of life itself. And that's a very, very risky business, because they can appropriate power, but with the power they have appropriated, they cannot perform the miracles that nature has performed over these millennia. They cannot perform the miracles that millions and billions of farmers are performing daily by saving seed, evolving seed, breeding seed, giving us food. And the separation of responsibility of bringing us food to the rights to have ownership over life, that separation is at the heart of it. I have always felt that separation of rights from duties creates all kinds of dictatorships. It's only when you have a duty linked to a responsibility you will act for the common good.